Welcome to part 102 of Let's Go See John. And this is December the 6th, 2024 by man's calendar. And this is the book of John, chapter 19. I'm going to recap verse 17. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of the skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him and two other with him on either side. Where they crucified him and two other with him on either side, one, and Jesus in the midst. That means between the two thieves. And there he hung betwixt the two thieves. Have you noticed a pattern emerging here? He was betrayed by Judas, who was a thief. The crowd cried out to release Barabbas, who was a robber. The Jews and so forth, they wanted Barabbas, a robber. And now here he hangs between two thieves. Kind of a pattern in this, isn't there? Had you ever thought of it that way before? Had you ever noticed these things before they were pointed out to you? Verse 19. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross. And the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. The title then read, This title then read many of the Jews. For the place where Jesus was crucified was near to the city, and it was written in the Hebrew and Greek and Latin. They had written that in all three languages he had, and put that on that subscription above Jesus' head. Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Well, I guess if you're the King of the Jews, then I am one. Because he's my King. Though I be Gentile, grafted in. Because I believed without seeing. alive. I kept waiting for his miracles to return, or to see the greater still. And that's what lies ahead, but only for a select few. For those that are true believers. Because Jesus will not reward unbelief, because that's a sin. Verse 21. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, "Write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part. So there was 4 soldiers, because they made 4 parts. Had you ever thought of that before? And also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. And they said therefore amongst themselves, "Let us not rend it." That means tear it. "But cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which says, They parted my remnant among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did." Jesus met every criteria. Now therefore stood by the cross of Jesus his mother and his mother's sister Mary, and the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and disciples standing by, whom he loved, he says to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then says he to the disciples, "Behold your mother." And from that hour the disciples took her to his own home. And from that hour that disciple took her to his own home. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scriptures might be fulfilled, says, I thirst. And now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with the vinegar and put it upon hyssop. That's a hyssop plant, by the way. And put it to his mouth. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. The Jews therefore, because it was the preparation, the pre-preparation that the bodies should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. The Sabbath day was getting ready to begin. Jesus died. Before Sabbath begun. Then came the soldiers and broke the legs of the first and of the other, which was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was dead already, they broke not his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side. For with Cain there out blood and water. And he that saw it bore record, and his record is true. And he knows that he says, and he knows that he says true, that you might believe. I'll see you in the next part.